Hi, welcome back. This is Module 3 of AI Prompting for Professionals, Prompting for Communication. In Module 1, we covered writing, so reports, summaries, and drafts. In Module 2, we tackled analysis, variances, trends, and data narratives. Now we're focusing on communication, the day-to-day messages that define how you're perceived professionally. Emails, Slack messages, client updates, difficult conversations. These are the messages people agonize over, and AI can help you get them right faster if you know how to prompt for tone. So here's what we'll cover. We'll start with why communication prompting is different. Then we'll build a 5-part framework and go deep on tone calibration, the most important skill in this module. We'll apply the framework to 4 real scenarios: routine professional emails, sensitive client messages, internal communications, and difficult conversations. By the end, you'll have a toolkit for handling any professional communication situation with AI. So before we get into the framework, here's something important. Communication prompting is different from writing or analysis. You might be thinking this feels really similar to Module 1. And when you ask AI to summarize a document, there's a fairly clear right answer. But when you ask it to write an email to a client you've worked with for 10 years, someone who knows your style, your directness, your sense of humor, the AI has none of that context. It defaults to a generic professional. That's why the prompt in this module puts heavy emphasis on relationship context and explicit tone instruction. Your job is to give the AI enough context that the output sounds like you, not like a template. And so when we're thinking about this, there may be times when you've read maybe an article or something on LinkedIn and you're like, I think ChatGPT wrote this. And a good example is looking on the screen right now, how we have the emoji before our header. A lot of that looks like ChatGPT. And I'm not saying you're going to have an emoji in your email, but we want to make sure that someone's not reading an email and thinking, oh my gosh, did AI write this? We don't want that. We want to make it feel like you wrote it. You're obviously going to add in your own personalization and whatnot, but we want to make sure it doesn't sound generic, is our goal here. So here is our 5-part framework for communication prompts. You'll notice 2 new elements compared to the writing framework in Module 1, recipient and situation. So our role, who are you in this message? Recipient, new, who receives it, and what's the relationship? Our situation, which is going to be the backstory and the context, and then tone, how should this feel? And our format is going to be channel, length, and structure. So recipient and situation are going to be the heart of communication prompting. Recipient adds who's receiving it, what the relationship is, what's happened before, any type of backstory that the AI might need. And so these 2 are really what we're going to focus on. So let's look at each one. Role sets the sender's identity and authority level. So in this situation, we're acting as a senior CPA at a regional firm. Do we need to be this specific? Probably not. But don't just say act as me or act as a business professional, right? We want to give it at least something to go off of. Recipient is where most people shortcut. Don't just say client, right? Tell the AI what the relationship actually is, how long it's been going on, and whether there's any tension, right? Maybe we need to give it a situation in the backstory, what's happened, what we need from them, and why their message needs to be sent now. Tone is the most important instruction. Words like warm but firm, cordial and direct, diplomatically assertive. It gives the AI real calibration data and it makes it sound the most like you. And then format's going to close the loop. So what channel, what length, what structure. But as I said, recipient and situation really are the heart of the communication. So is this a long-term client that we know is slow to respond? Is this maybe someone who, a woman who has, multiple kids under the age of 5 and feels a bit frazzled? So we want to, give her a bit of time to respond. We want to give the AI maybe too much information, even if you think it doesn't matter. It does help because when you're writing, you have all that context in your head and you might not be realizing that you're using it. So, if anything, over explain the recipient and the situation. So, let's also spend a minute on tone because this is where the quality of your communication prompts lives or dies. Tone isn't binary. Think of it as a dial with many positions between casual and formal. The most effective tone instructions use two descriptors that create a productive tension. Warm but firm tells the AI to be friendly but not soft. Cordial but direct says skip the fluff without being blunt. Sympathetic but clear works for delivering maybe disappointing news. And here's a pro tip, always tell the AI what to avoid. So maybe saying, do not sound passive aggressive, avoid corporate jargon, do not over apologize. These negative instructions are often more useful than positive ones because they prevent the most common AI defaults. So add that in there too. Until you figure out exactly what sounds the most like you, give it as many do nots as you would like. So let's start with the most common use case, routine professional emails. It feels like our life revolves around these, right? Follow-ups, status updates, meeting confirmations, introductions. They're not sensitive, but they just take time. So here's an example prompt for you. Act as a CPA at a regional accounting firm. Write a follow-up email to a new contact we met at a networking event last week. We had a brief conversation about their business, and I mentioned we'd send information about our services. Our goal is to keep the relationship warm and propose a 30-minute call. The tone should be friendly and professional, not salesy. And the format should be a short email, maybe 3 short paragraphs, a conversation opener with no bullet points. And so the AI is going to produce a clear, personable follow-up that you can send with minor tweaks. And so this is where AI delivers the most time savings with the lowest risk, right? Because this is pretty basic. And maybe you add in, a fun little, hey, remember we talked about this, or, so glad I got to see you here, or whatever. So you can still personalize it, but this is a pretty basic, hey, wanted to follow up, glad I got to meet you type email. Pretty low risk. This is somewhere that I would probably start if I were brand new to AI using my communication. Use case 2 is where AI really earns its keep. Sensitive client messages. And these are the emails you draft but probably delete 3 times. It's delivering bad news, explaining a billing discrepancy, addressing a missed deadline. Let's use a scope change and fee increase, those types. So you could prompt, act as a partner at an accounting firm. Write an email to a long-term client informing them that their engagement has required significantly more work than scoped and that we need to discuss a fee adjustment. This client has been with us 8 years, and this is the first time we've had this conversation. The tone should be warm, transparent, and professionally confident. Do not be apologetic or hedging, but do acknowledge the inconvenience. So notice how we said do not be sad, don't be sorry, but do acknowledge that this isn't great for them. Format should be a professional email, 3 paragraphs, close with a suggested call. And so this prompt is going to produce a draft that's honest and respectful without undermining your position. And it also gives you a great starting out point. But notice that we gave them a lot of information on the situation. We've had this client for 8 years. This is the first time that we've ever, messed this up, that we have to go back on our word here. And all of that helps the AI figure out how it wants to write your story. So, as I said, overshare, overshare if you need to, because that's going to help the AI do its best work. Internal communications, oh my gosh, a different animal. The stakes feel lower, but the relationship dynamics can be more complex. Hierarchy, politics, ongoing working relationships. Let's say you need to escalate a resource issue to your manager without it reading as a complaint, which is, in my opinion, kind of tough to do. We might say, act as a senior associate writing to my direct manager. I need to flag that our team is under-resourced for the current engagement load heading into busy season. I want to be seen as proactive and solutions-oriented, not complaining. Tone, direct, professional, and constructive. Frame it as a planning conversation, not a grievance. The format should be a brief Slack message or short email under 100 words that opens the door to a conversation. That message raises the issue clearly without damaging the relationship, and that's exactly what you want. Now, notice that you weren't 100% sure what you wanted to say, right? You're like, hey, my team's under-resourced. We're heading into a really busy season, and I want to I need help finding a solution. You can tell the AI that. You can say, I don't want to be complainy. I don't want to be viewed as X, but I need help getting to Y. And the AI will do a great job at filling in those blanks for you. It is also helpful to explain to the AI. In this one, we said writing to my direct manager, but it's helpful. Your AI is not going to know who your COO is or your senior VP of XYZ. So it's also helpful to almost give them an org chart or say, like, this is a skip level email to my manager's manager. Give them a little bit of an org chart if you need to, and that way it can help calibrate the correct tone and the correct things to say as well. The fourth use case is the most challenging, difficult conversations. Declining work, having to give hard feedback, or just setting a firm boundary. So let's use the example of a client who keeps requesting work outside scope without expecting to pay for it. Act as a partner at an accounting firm. Write an email to a client who has been requesting small additional tasks outside our engagement scope and has not been receptive to being billed for them. We need to set a clear expectation going forward without damaging the relationship. The client is valuable, but this pattern needs to stop. Our tone should be firm, clear, and respectful. Do not be apologetic. Do not over-explain. Do not be aggressive. Our format should be short, professional email, 2 to 3 paragraphs, and close by offering to discuss scope on a call. Notice there are 3 do nots. They're doing the heavy lifting here because AI might default to over explaining or maybe coming across as a bit aggressive, and we're saying, hey, don't do any of these things. You need to figure out your own tone, but don't do these 3. And that's where those negatives can really help you out if you're not 100% sure where you want it to go, but you know that you don't want it to feel like X, Y, or Z. And so this is one where you're gonna you're gonna have the majority of it written out for you, and then you can just add a little twist to it if you'd like. So just like module 1, your first AI draft is a starting point, especially for communication. Tone is subtle, and the first attempt may be close but not quite right. Here, the follow-up prompts make the biggest difference. Make this sound less formal. I want it to feel like me. The second paragraph feels too apologetic. Rewrite it to be more confident. This sounds too much like a template. Make it feel more personal and specific. Shorten the whole thing by 30% and keep the key points. I use that one a lot. Add a warm opener that references our conversation last week, and then you can tell it what your last conversation was. Each of these takes the AI draft and personalizes it a little bit more, and the final message should sound more like you and you at your clearest and most polished, which is what we're looking for. So, to recap, communications prompting is the most relationship dependent of the four modules. AI defaults to generic. Your prompts supply the context that make messages feel human. The five-part framework, role, recipient, situation, tone, and format, gives you a structure for any communication scenario. Tone is a dial. Use paired descriptors and do not instructions to calibrate precisely. And always refine the follow-up prompts until the message sounds like you. And that wraps up module 3. In our final module, we're tackling presentations, how to use AI to build compelling slide outlines, write speaker notes, and structure a narrative that lands with any audience. Whether you're presenting to a client, a board, or even your own team, Module 4 will help you prepare faster and present more confidently. I'll see you there.